Good morning everyone. This is Kamikawa Kaolin. Koreans lie. Chinese people were still better, is the word of an old lady who lived on the pre-war peninsula. Even now, 55 years after the conclusion of the Japan-Korea Treaty, South Korea has created a convenient history and continues to insult Japan. Yes, they haven't changed anything. Korea's Anti-Japanese Act is now in a state where the open mouth is not closed in Japan. In recent years, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Germany, the United States, Taiwan, Korea repeats selfish claims in every country and everywhere. I repeat the act of causing trouble to the people around me, and I can't see the color of remorse at all. So far, it was not a crime in Japan because it happened in Korea. There were cases that insulted Japan as follows. 1. Japanese national bird pheasant murder and pheasant July 17, 2008, in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. An organization protesting that Takeshima, Korean name, Dokdo, was specified in the commentary on Japan's new course of study. We carried out radical protests, such as decapitating the Japanese national bird pheasant. About 40 protesters in military uniforms cut off the necks of 9 pheasants. I smeared the blood on the photos of Prime Minister Yasuo Fukuda and successive prime ministers and the Japanese flag. Some shouted, "Dokdo is our territory." It is said that some people ate the internal organs of the killed pheasant. After this, protesters attempted to invade the premises of the Japanese embassy, but were blocked by the riot police. 2. March 15, 2015. At the anti-Japanese demonstration in South Korea, there was an incident in which a Japanese Akita dog was cut off and skewered. The image is so terrible that it was mosaicked. There is a saying that, the thief is fierce, but when you come here, it's a madman level. 3. Dokdo screaming case. Japanese flag insult case. June 7 to July 6, 2005. Poster exhibition of Gaeyang Junior High School held at Gyeolhyeon Station on Incheon Subway Line 1 in South Korea. A picture of Sailor Moon saying, "Dokdo belongs to Korea. I'll kill all the Japanese guys." Do you want to make the Japanese archipelago a sea of fire? Japan sinks in the sea. When is the garbage called Japan thrown away? With hangul such as pictures of shooting and killing Japanese people, burning them, and bombing them are on display. TV came from Japan for coverage. The problem is that the incident was caused by an unrelated Canadian whistleblowing on the scene. It was the first time that it came to light. Until such an exhibition is pointed out from the outside, not only was it not a problem among teachers and parents, exhibiting at the station means that the station master and other railway personnel knew. For subway stations where many people pass in a day, why didn't the customers say, "It's not good to display such a painting"? The answer is to display paintings that are very aggressive to Japan in public places. Not only is there no sense of resistance, but it is also done openly on a daily basis. It's strange to disagree with it. That is quite natural in Korea as a common sense. It is nothing but that. Moreover, 3. Ichiro assassination demonstration case. At the 2009 WBC, LG's baseball team, we have released a t-shirt designed to assassinate Japanese player Ichiro Suzuki. 5. Request for the Emperor Dagiza. On August 14, 2012, President Lee Myung-bak talked about the Emperor. If the King of Japan comes to say one word, such as regret, there is no need to visit Korea. If Neo just brings in an unfamiliar word such as painful, you don't have to come. If you want to come to Korea, you should go around the independence activists and kneel down to apologize. I made a statement requesting an apology. Since the president is this, the citizenship of this country should be known. 6. Remains of the Japanese Emperor. The remains of the Japanese Emperor were during the Japanese colonial rule. An abusive term that targets culture and cultural artifacts that have been transmitted from Japan to the Korean peninsula. It is also used in the media and daily conversation in South Korea and North Korea. When the Korean peninsula was part of Japan, cultures, customs, systems, etc. brought from the Japanese archipelago, it is in a state of being destroyed and abolished under the name of remaining dregs of the Empire of Japan. 7. Interfering with the bid for the Tokyo Olympics. He emphasized the danger of radioactivity and interfered with the bid for the Tokyo Olympics. 8. Installation of a Comfort Woman monument. A memorial for comfort women is set up in parks and libraries in the United States. It causes bullying of local Japanese children. 9. The issue of naming the Sea of Japan. Expanding activities to rewrite Japan Sea to East Sea worldwide. 10. Anti-Japanese Video. An organization that receives financial support from the Korean government creates anti-Japanese videos and distributes them to schools. 11. Criticism of Yasukuni. We started criticizing Yasukuni Shrine in the 21st century. 12. Cyber terrorism to 2 Channel. On March 1, 2010, the leading Korean newspaper, Jungang Ilbo, announced that Korean internet users will celebrate their Independence Day. It was reported that a large-scale cyber attack was carried out on 2 Channel. For Kim Yuna, the gold medalist of the Vancouver Olympics, it is said that the cause was that many criticisms were received on 2 Channel. 13. Refusal to rescue sunken ship. When the passenger ship, Sewol, sank, the Japanese government refused to offer relief. The South Korean government reported that the invasion of the territory and the ambition of collective self-defense could be seen through. It was just a self-defeating act. Then, the Rising Sun flag insult case and the Gunkanjima insult case are followed by 2 emotional and violent cases. Where is the origin of these actions? When, where, and how will South Korea's anti-Japanese sentiment be created, expanded and reproduced? In Japan, in school education and in prefectural ordinances, don't hate, love your neighbor, do your best for the world, for others, you are taught to hate sin and not hate others. After the defeat of the previous war, the Japanese endured intolerable, I vowed with His Majesty the Emperor to endure any absurdity and contribute to world peace. It is called ethics, morality, people's degree, and common sense, which are different from religion. What kind of education do you have in Korea? How can I do this? Even Chinese people don't. Is it possible to do something too lowly? So I did a lot of research. The extremely terrible reality of education in South Korea can be seen. Lee Dong-won, a critic who specializes in the history of Japan-South Korea relations, said, "It started in kindergarten. Furthermore, it is an incredible, anti-Japanese education that is occurring in the field of elementary, middle and high schools in the country. Isn't that violence unprecedented in the world?" By promoting an overly nationalist perception of history for their own benefit, citizens groups represented by the Justice Federation, formerly the Korean Council for Justice, who have used the anti-Japanese sentiment of the general public politically, Moon Jae-in leftist government with a strong nationalist tendency, intentional distortion and exaggeration by some intellectuals who act as ideologies for these forces. And the media that blindly accepts this, expands and reproduces it without any confirmation. You can see that these work in combination. After all, I think the biggest thing is that various anti-Japanese education is carried out in school education. Korean elementary, junior high and high school history classes, especially in modern history class hours, the facts about Japanese colonial rule are overly distorted and exaggerated. In particular, by teachers belonging to specific teacher groups with a strong nationalist leftist tendency. Anti-Japanese education is being led. As a result, young students have a biased historical perception of Japan. I think this naturally leads to hostility and hatred. People who grew up with such anti-Japanese education as a result, he has a strong sense of inferiority complex and a sense of damage to Japan. On the other hand, you will have an excessive sense of superiority. And the painting exhibition of the students of Kian Junior High School held at the subway station in Incheon in 2005 mentioned here. By chance, these paintings were introduced overseas and caused a big ripple. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The reaction of foreigners who saw this picture is simply, too much. Above all, foreigners are in public education for young students. I was surprised that anti-Japanese education was conducted in a way that attracted blind hatred. Germans living in South Korea can read on their blog, "What is done in Korean public education is stupid and too irresponsible," he accused. "There is certainly a problem with the Korean education system," he said. What surprised foreigners above all was the violence shown in the pictures of Korean children. A picture of dropping a nuclear bomb on Japan, a picture of threatening Japan with a bloody sword, pictures of Koreans holding a map of Japan with their feet, pictures of Japan burning, etc. Some overseas netizens who saw this was surprised that such violent depictions were recognized in the field of public education. The mobilized anti-communism, anti-Japanese ideology, is really embarrassing. In addition to the contents of the paintings, the teachers who planned such an exhibition and had them draw the paintings, there is no doubt that there are more problems. The good news is that this is not a problem limited to classes at this school. Biased education under the control of the state represented by national textbooks and curriculum guidelines, a view of the nation, a view of the nation, and a view of history artificially created through the distortion and incitement of various media. In such a society, not only can an individual not be the subject of a rational self-determination right, it forms distorted values and ultimately creates a perverted blind belief in a particular idea. Anti-communist ideology and anti-Japanese education are just that. South Korea, which could not create a nation-state by itself under Japanese rule for 35 years, in the process of preparing the form as a modern nation-state, although it is late, education was used as a tool to create a new fiction called the nation. And in order to achieve the modernization of the motherland, the people need summation and unity. It was anti-communist and anti-Japanese ideology that was mobilized for that purpose. In Korean society, anti-Japanese has become a religion beyond belief. And this involves more justice. All of the 5th and 6th grade social studies textbooks used in Japanese elementary schools from April 2020, when Takeshima in Okinoshima Town, Shimane Prefecture, was specified as a territory peculiar to Japan. South Korea strongly opposed this. According to the Korean Small 6 Social Studies textbook, it is related to the recruitment of Japan during the Korean Peninsula rule. There is one photo of 10 shirtless men. The explanation was, "My people mobilized for forced labor." Actually, this photo was taken in 1926. The Asahikawa newspaper in Hokkaido reported a fatal case of abuse at a road construction site. It had nothing to do with the recruitment of Koreans. Such historical fabrications are just the tip of the iceberg. South Korea distorted and forged history in all aspects of comfort women, recruitment workers, gunkanjima, etc. Create an unlikely testimony against Japan. We are developing a victim business, with apologize. Compensate. South Korean Ministry of Education admits mistakes. I made an excuse for the fact that I'm also considering putting a sticker on the part of the photo. The textbooks have already been distributed, and it is doubtful that all of them can be sealed. In the first place, in the Korean education field, where the left-wing, National Teachers and Staff Workers Union, KTU, is widespread, I wonder if such instructions will pass. The All Japan Teachers and Education Workers Union insisted that the school song involving Chinilpa characters should be changed. I also opposed the education of kanji, which can be said to be the foundation of knowledge common to Japan and Korea. There are also teachers who follow the Juche idea, which is the governing idea of North Korea. It is an organization that can be said to be the forefront of the division between Japan and South Korea and the North-South joint battle. If you can actually stick the stickers thoroughly, it can be regarded as a certain effort by South Korea to improve relations with Japan. President Moon Jae-in, who admits to be a pioneer in so-called recruitment proceedings, I don't think it can be said that the recruitment photo should be blindfolded with a sticker. Not only was the photo in question previously published in high school textbooks, it is also exhibited as a Korean victim at the National Japanese Emperor Forced Mobilization History Museum in Busan. When I ordered and read Korean elementary, junior high and high school social studies and history textbooks, of the 71 pages in the historical area, the 6th Small Social Studies department that misposted the photo as approximately 40% of the history of anti-Japanese, from just before Japanese rule to independence. 28 pages are also allocated. In Chapter 1, Section 2, Efforts for Invasion and Liberation of the Japanese Empire, the phrase, ilch, that is often heard in Korean society, a short term for Japan's imperialism, or Japanese empire, it is explained as a word that indicates Japan that has invaded several countries for the benefit of its own country. In Korea, from 6th grade children about Japan and Korea, it is grasped by the composition of poetic justice called Korea that disciplines Japan. The same textbook also talks about the comfort women issue. To date, Japan has not made a clear fact-finding and sincere apology. Japanese people know that this is false, including the apology of then Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa in 1992. The fact that I have expressed my apology in discourse and letters many times has been completely ignored. I am stunned by the fact that it is distorted. What was the effort of the Japanese side? This keeps screaming, Japan has not apologized. Demonstrations and the installation of the Statue of Peace near the Japanese embassy in Korea, along with photos of demonstrators and statues of comfort women. We treat it as if we were proud of the results. Concerns about violation of the Vienna Convention, which stipulates the obligation to protect the safety and dignity of foreign diplomatic missions, etc. There is nothing that I can feel. Is this the level of education? It's a textbook that looks like an anti-Japanese textbook. Teach elementary school students who should bear the future the facts of untrue mixing and instill anti-Japanese. This is the reality of Korea. I'm not the only one who remembers the dark future of bilateral relations in that education. In addition, the National History Museum, which was created for anti-Japanese, is a highlight. The National Japanese Emperor Forced Mobilization History Museum was built in May 2007 at a museum located in Namji-gu, Busan, South Korea. When the Sino-Japanese War broke out, Japan, which enacted the National Mobilization Law, it mobilized Koreans to exploit the labor force and violated human rights. Under the name of coal mine workers, soldiers, and Women's Volunteer Corps, Koreans who were taken to Japan and Manchuria suffered from severe hunger and labor. A tragic history that must never be forgotten. Let's memorize it together at the National Japanese Emperor Forced Mobilization History Museum and spread it widely. It is written as. In this exhibit, there is also a photo of the road construction site of the Asahikawa newspaper in Hokkaido. It is exhibited as, My People Mobilized for Forced Labor. It's a display of lies and fabrications. Furthermore, it will be exhibited at the Seodaemun Prison History Museum, in Seoul. The temporary confinement room reproduces the cruel torture of independence activists by Japan. Also, in the torture room, Japanese detectives, in addition to reproducing the state of torture performed on the independence activist in the process of cross-examination, the testimony video of the experiencer and the tools used for torture are on display. You can also actually experience torture. A Korean woman in a prison uniform screaming inside. The doll moves, and the crying echoes around. This exhibition is underground, so even men are scared. The face and voice of the moving doll was a horrifying experience that I dreamed of several times. Prison cell reproduce the hanging. Torture with water. Upside down hanging. A Korean prisoner who is beaten by a Japanese soldier and becomes bloody. A Korean woman who is forced to put a thumbprint on some document. A Korean woman who is covered in blood by tearing chima jiagori by torture that is hung and beaten. A Korean woman who is violently cross-examined despite the fact that blood is scattered all over the place. On the other hand, Japanese soldiers throw their feet at the desk, take a break with a cigarette, and look at the sky irreverently. This time a violent cross-examination accompanied by violence against Korean men. Torture of Korean men. The skin is torn and the flesh is visible. Torture of a Korean man in a humiliating appearance. Torture in a cell. A Japanese who forcibly takes a crying Korean woman. A Korean woman crying. The vice of the mouth-to-mouth cigarette that monitors at Japan Wiki Comfort Women commentary. A picture of the impression of a child who saw here. Similarly, a picture of a child's impression. A picture of the same impression. These are all forged by the Korean side and have no basis. The country that has brewed anti-Japanese sentiment with such false statements is South Korea. It doesn't matter to them whether it's a lie or a truth. Because the purpose is to despise Japan, it has nothing to do with them, whether it is true or not. The Japanese cannot understand what it means to incite anti-Japanese sentiment in this way. Unfortunately, as long as South Korea continues this attitude, the relationship between Japan and South Korea has not improved even after 1,000 years. South Korea should be aware of this early. Koreans lie. Chinese people were still better. Is the word of an old lady who lived on the pre-war peninsula. The Japanese, and people all over the world, Should never forget this word. Don't be fooled by Korean lies. That's all.